Welcome everyone to the next program in our career series here at Berkeley Center for Law and Technology. Again, Wilson Sonsini has been kind enough to donate more time to us to explain how law firms are working, what things look like internally. And this is one of those areas that is almost impossible to understand from websites, because every firm says they're community oriented, they give back, they do a lot of pro bono. When you scratch a little deeper, maybe that's not always the case, or maybe it's not always appreciated, or you get to do pro bono work during your vacation weeks or on your nights and weekends. Other firms have done it, I think, in a really thoughtful way where they help the community, they build internally, they build community among the lawyers, and actually help lawyers develop skill sets. And when you tie all those together, it's not by accident, it's by deliberate design and thought. And there are, a handful of firms out there that do it really, really well. Most people are at least average to below average. When you look at what Wilson has built out, it's in that good category. It's well above average. It's something really on the leading edge, and it's exciting for me to be able to share this with everybody. It's exciting for me to actually learn about how this part of the law practice is moving forward. Big law is not always viewed sympathetically and not always viewed as a community giver, but fact is that's not true for all firms. So with that, we have Gail McFall with us today. Gail is the head of, I think, broadly what Wilson refers to as community impact. And so, Gail, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you giving us a little time.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
So, Gail, first of all, the idea of community impact, okay, people have heard that. Community impact at law firms. That's not a phrase that shows up in much literature. You want to tell us kind of what this means broadly?
Sure, and I'll do it in the context of what I know in terms of working at Wilson Sonsini, but community impact captures one of Wilson Sonsini's core values about giving back to the community where we live and work, seeking access to supporting the underserved. And basically it's kind of if you think of an umbrella, there's different parts to it. So pro bono service, community service, and then Wilson Sonsini has the Wilson Sonsini Foundation, which is a separate 501c3 that's supported by the firm's partners. Do you want me to go more into detail about that? Or?
So, I mean, I think that's great. We often think about pro bono. We see pro bono advertised, law schools, urge pro bono, the bar associations urge pro bono. But what you're laying out is something broader than just pro bono. That's the legal services side, but the firm is engaged more broadly in I guess community service. And so I'd love to know kind of those other pieces. How does that match what lawyers are doing, and how does an attorney get involved in those types of things?
Sure. So, I mean, I work very closely with our pro bono partner, Luke Liss, and I know he's done an interview as well, and I would encourage everyone to watch that interview. Luke oversees the pro bono program, and which is very robust, and I don't want to. I think it's best to hear from him in terms of the pro bono part of it. But needless to say, we do very much. There's no cap to pro bono, so attorneys can get involved and know that it counts. In addition, we have a community service program, and basically providing year-round numerous opportunities to give back, and that shows in terms of both in the office activities as well as out into the community. In terms of projects, we also fundraise for worthy causes. So, for example, when the disasters for the wildfires last year, we came together and we collected funds to support Maui. We also do projects to renovate homes and community facilities. food sorts, meal preparation, conducting clothing and supplies drives, and collecting necessities for getting kids ready to go back to school, snack bags for the underserved. So all of those kinds of activities. And then in addition, we have something that we created several years ago called DEI, Community Impact Crossover Initiatives. And what that is it's a firm-wide effort focused on a particular celebrating various aspects. So Juneteenth, celebrating women's history, and we do a deep dive. So for example, with Juneteenth, we will, it's office-wide. We will do some activities that are virtual so that we can all come together as a community, whether it's a book club, watching a series and then having a discussion about it. We work with Museum of the African Diaspora, which is a fantastic local nonprofit that provides art education around Juneteenth. And then various projects, so clinics, trainings to get ready to give back, and snack bags, care kits. For example, the Women's History last year, we created care kits for survivors of human trafficking with Tahiri Justice Center. So that's kind of a snippet. This year, we're looking forward to doing a deep dive and celebration of Pride. And so those are some of it, as well as Juneteenth. So that's kind of unique. I love it. In addition, with our summer associates, when they come in, we have specific community service projects for them, as well as getting involved with pro bono. So they do both. And then for first year academy in the fall, at the end of it, after the academy, on that last day, we celebrate and we give back. So we do a number of community service activities. For example, last year, we built 3 different playhouses with Habitat for Humanity. And those playhouses are then donated to local military families, as well as first responders. We build care kits with a local nonprofit. So a variety of things. And then finally, I'd say in addition to the no cap on the pro bono hours, staff, we also have a volunteer time off policy and program. And so staff gets up to 2 days to give back. They choose the 501c3 nonprofit to work with, and they get to go out and give back in that way. So I guess I would just summarize to say that I do feel like we're fairly unique in that regard. I think most firms do some pro bono. And then there's also some community service, potentially, right? But I feel like ours is an integrated year-round program we really try to create new opportunities and for our attorneys and staff.
So I'm thinking about from the perspective of a newer associate. So nearly all of them are younger than me. Guess it happens. So
me too.
So let's say you're a first-year attorney. How about that? First-year attorney starting, how do they get involved? Are they involved, or is it all first years? What can they expect?
It's not just first years, but certainly first years are part of it. So what I would say is, how do you get involved? As soon as you get here, check out and see what opportunities are available. And that means both in terms of, I would also talk with your colleagues. What are they volunteering for? What are they involved in? And reaching out to the community impact team, or whatever it's called, the community team, and express your interest. Here at Wilson Sonsini, we have a platform called Paladin, and basically attorneys can get on that, submit their information as well as their interests and what office they're in. And then they are actually provided with opportunities to check out and see if they're interested. We also have a community listserv, community impact listserv, and both attorneys and staff can sign up for that. And then you are given more opportunities to check out and see what interests you. And I would say, you know, please follow up and get involved. One of the best things for me is when new attorneys come in and get involved in planning. So we have opportunities like that, Community Service Committee, Pro Bono Committee, as well as the DEI Community Impact Initiatives that I talked about. Those are separate planning committees for each office. And so getting involved in that stuff, and it's great because if new people come in, there are new ideas, new nonprofits, and I think that's wonderful.
So law firms don't have a reputation for giving back. I mean, and I say law firms in general, because the demands of the job just eat up all available time, or at least that's the perception. So as an attorney coming in, you know, this may sound great. Is this something I really can participate in? You know, are the partners, other people going to support me participating in these kinds of things rather than just taking on another case and another piece of work? How does this look practically? Because, you know, if you're thinking about it, you'd be suspicious based on the rumors you hear about how tough law firms are.
Well, I would say it does count. I mean, as an example, if you look at Luke Liss, who started out as a summer and then he was an attorney here, and now he's pro bono partner. That is his focus. So I think we walk the talk. But I would say, you know, one reason why we offer what we offer in terms of the types of activities is we have opportunities where it could be in a clinic setting where it's a one-off and it doesn't require a ton of time. Or on the community service side, we're set up in a conference room and someone can drop in for 15 minutes and write some cards that will make a real difference for a family or a pediatric care patient. Build a kit. It doesn't have to be 500 kits for them. They can do it 1 or 2, right? So I think the variety of activities is important because we recognize that, yes, we are all very busy. We have huge schedules, right? And so we're trying to allow it to be flexible enough that whatever the time you have, you can take a little time at least to do something like this.
That's a nice adjustment. Well, and I'll add, you know, from my years of practice, this can be a lonely profession at times because you're head down drafting a brief or a contract for 2 days at a time. And I mean, I think I've had time where I've realized I'd missed 2 meals and I was wondering why I was getting hungry. So, and you know, you don't have sometimes the connections with people outside your little team that you're working on something with, your office, your floor. This kind of thing is attractive to me because it gives you a chance to be something other than the lawyer in your office. It gives you something to learn about your local environment, your teams locally, other people, staff, lawyers, you know, just it makes everybody part of one group. And it's interesting because corporations have done this for decades.
Right.
For decades. And law firms seem to be late to that game. So in the interesting, corporations started decades ago and they still do it. So it must have a real benefit because like law firms, corporations are there to generate profit too, but they see that it's good for the mental health of all the people that work there. So rarely discussed enough in the legal industry, but seems to be a foundational piece to move forward on.
I mean, absolutely. I think it's not only a professional responsibility in terms of giving back and but also the benefits are huge, right? So team building. I love watching, like if it's a rebuilding event and we're out in the middle of whether it's a high school campus or whatever, and I have a team working on a planter box and you have a partner or a senior associate along with some staff, and they're all together and they could be in different practice areas on the same goal. The goal is to create that planter box for this team, and It's so much fun to see it put together, to see them work together. Another example would be, I don't know why, but we seem to now specialize in doing murals for our various projects. And I'm always just blown away by watching attorneys and staff like go at it. You know, we might put together the template or whatever in terms of the outline. And by the end of the day, you see this magnificent mural and you're like, wow, you know, we're a law firm. So and everybody can get excited about that, you know?
Well, and for students that are entering law firms for the first time, it's a relationship business.
Yes.
Always. And those friends that you build are important not only for your career, but important for your enjoyment of your career. And I think back to the people I met as in the first few years of my career doing some projects that had nothing to do with my patent practice are still my best friends today. And they're not patent litigators. That's a harder group to get along with. So it really is an interesting way to help the community, help younger attorneys get integrated into a big corporation in many ways. People forget how massive law firms are these days. They are corporations. And it's nice to see them adopting things that have worked for corporations.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it also builds leadership skills. You know, I have projects. I can't necessarily be on at every project all the time, and I have attorneys that take it, you know, and meet the team and lead the team into a project, and it's fantastic. So yeah.
Well, wonderful. Well, I appreciate you sharing this with us, kind of what's going on, and I appreciate the work you're doing on this. Hopefully, other firms will look at something like this and do more than just put something on a website that says they do community service. But this is good for the community, good for junior attorneys. It's kind of good for everyone. It's nice to see it.
Yeah, well, and I would add that, you know, during the pandemic, I think one thing that was very powerful in terms of keeping morale up. I mean, we were all, you know, in our little offices at home or at the kitchen table trying to just get through it, right? And we pivoted and put together some programming in terms of giving back still, even though it was virtual. It was really pretty critical at that time because it allowed us to be connected. And actually that was kind of the start of doing a lot of virtual, like probably everybody, right? But realizing that even though we have multiple offices, it was a way to really feel like one in terms of being together as a community. So yeah, lots of benefits.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing with Berkeley students and for students across the country. They'll appreciate this.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.